I want to talk a bit about public participation in the legislative process and ways that unfortunately it's often difficult for regular people who have day jobs and family commitments to take part and make their voices heard. So this week we had a bill in the Texas House State Affairs Committee being heard. It was our Texas Mobile Food Vendor Regulatory Consistency Act. It's a food truck freedom bill, making it easier for food trucks to operate in and around the state of Texas. It's a really good bill. It would get rid of unnecessary red tape while preserving public safety. And we planned for several food trucks owners to come down to the Capitol from all different parts of the state to tell their stories about how the current law and the bureaucracy makes it difficult and expensive for them to operate, how it's even put some of their friends and neighbors out of business. Unfortunately, in Texas, you don't know what time a bill is going to be heard necessarily. Like, there's no specific timing. So we knew that the bill would be heard in the State Affairs Committee, which starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. So we had some people come down to Austin. They got up at 3 o'clock in the morning, drove down from Dallas, some from even further afield, and they came to Austin ready to testify. The way it works in Texas is often you have a couple of hours of committee testimony, and then everyone has to go off to the House floor for the main calendar when they're all voting on bills as a body of the whole. And then once they're done with that general state business, then they'll come back to their committees and resume work. But it's often impossible to know how long this will take, particularly when they're on the House floor. They're calling points of order on each other's bills. There's memorial resolutions. If there are freshman members, they often do a bit of friendly hazing. Some of it's good fun. But all of this, unfortunately, makes it very unpredictable. You don't know exactly when things will happen. So with these people, they're small business owners, entrepreneurs. They forewent an entire day of potential revenue to come to Austin to advocate, for themselves and for their colleagues, for whom this bill will make a real difference. And at one point, several of them were just sleeping on a bench in the legislative office building where the committee was happening because, they'd had a really, really long day. The hearing ended up going really well. The bill had a very good reception, but it just made me think about, what can we do to make the legislative process easier for regular people to participate in? When you have these very unpredictable timings, when you're kind of bound up in tradition and you don't modernize the way you do things, often it means the only people that can participate are the ones who are paid to be there. So, professional lobbyists, paid activists, people from deep-pocketed big industry who can just afford to have a representative stalk the halls of the Capitol all day and be there all the time. That's just not the case for a lot of people. So some people's voices just aren't heard. And we see exactly the same thing in our housing advocacy as well, right? And you look at municipal zoning meetings and so on, when people are trying to build new housing, who are the ones that can always show up? It tends to be older, retired, wealthier people who don't have day jobs, don't have little kids to look after, can afford to come to these meetings and throw a spanner in the works of every single new housing initiative that a city tries to do. It's the exact same problem. It's a barrier to participation in democracy. And often this is unintentional, right? This is just the way things have always been. And obviously, people can't be in two places at once. The business of the whole house has to happen, and committee meetings have to happen as well. But some states have found ways to get around this, right? So in New Hampshire, I've done a lot of work there on housing work, and when I go to testify, you actually know exactly the time when your bill will be heard. When they publish the committee hearing schedule, it doesn't just say all of these bills will be heard at some point during the day. It says, this bill will be heard at 10:15 a.m., this bill will be heard at 10:30, and you can plan a lot better, so you don't have to just take off the whole day. Other states, places like Montana, where I've also done some work on housing, they allow remote video testimony, so you don't have to come in person. You can log into Zoom and you can just testify that way. The Texas Capitol has done that, but it tends to be the exception rather than the rule, so it's been on more high-stakes cases and not a matter of course. So there's a lot of things that we could do to make public participation in our democracy at the state level a lot better. I'd be interested to know what you think. Are you happy with the status quo? Would you like to see different things being done? I'm really proud of the people that came down to testify in support of our food truck bill. Despite the really long day, they did a great job. It went well, and I'm hopeful that the bill is going to move forward. But I don't think it should have to be this difficult. I think it should be easier for people to be able to participate in democracy. This is Sam Hooper. I work at the Institute for Justice as a legislative lawyer. I do this for my day job. This is what I do all the time. Other people, they only take part in democracy occasionally, like maybe one bill is of particular interest to them. They don't know their way around the system so well. So I'm interested in how we can help those people that don't do this for a living to take part more. I'd love to know your thoughts, so let me know down in the comments below any ideas you have. How can we make it easier for people to take part in our democracy?